Blake Lively once stood as Hollywood's golden girl, the actress who could do no wrong. She was the fashion icon, the witty interview guest, the charming wife of Ryan Reynolds, and the beloved Serena van der Woodsen of Gossip Girl fame. To many fans, she represented a fairy tale: talent, beauty, family, success, everything wrapped in one perfect package. But behind the glossy magazine covers and carefully crafted Instagram posts, the truth that has been unraveling is darker, sharper, and far more destructive than anyone could have imagined. What began as whispers of trouble on the set of It Ends With Us has exploded into one of Hollywood's most shocking scandals in years. And as the evidence piles up, it no longer looks like a temporary setback. It looks like the total collapse of a carefully constructed empire. The turning point in this story came not with a film release, but with a lawsuit. Blake Lively, once thought untouchable, launched a legal war that has now spiraled into chaos, dragging in directors, authors, co-stars, publicists, and even her own husband. What was supposed to be a story about creative vision and empowerment has instead exposed manipulation, coercion, and raw Hollywood power politics. And the one person at the center of it all is Justin Baldoni, the man she is suing, the man she is trying to destroy, and ironically, the man who seems to be walking away from this stronger than ever. From the very beginning, this saga didn't unfold like a normal celebrity spat. Instead, it looked orchestrated, almost like a playbook. The accusations against Baldoni came wrapped in the language of the Me Too movement: serious, damning, impossible to ignore. But when receipts began to surface, when HR complaints didn't line up, when insider leaks painted a different picture, the narrative started cracking. Suddenly, what had been portrayed as an act of courage from Blake began to look more like an act of control. She wasn't simply fighting for justice. She was fighting to dominate, to bend the story, to eliminate any rival who threatened her control of the project. The unraveling accelerated when attempts were made to silence critics online. A viral video dissecting the inconsistencies was mysteriously removed. But the creator fought back, had the video reinstated, and publicly accused Blake's legal team of censorship. That alone shifted public opinion. If the case was strong, why silence dissent? Why go after YouTubers instead of proving claims in court? To many fans, this was the first undeniable sign that Blake was panicking. Allegedly, her team wasn't just battling Baldoni in court. They were waging war against public perception, trying to crush any narrative that didn't fit their script. And then came the HR complaints. Multiple actresses were said to have filed grievances against Baldoni. One name that surfaced was Jenny Slate. At first, Slate's vocal support for Blake seemed like friendship, loyalty, solidarity. But as more pieces emerged, it began to look manipulated. Insiders claimed Slate was pressured, her loyalty weaponized, her career prospects dangled before her. Was she truly standing with a friend, or was she just another pawn in Blake's larger game? When reports surfaced that Slate had been nudged toward legal action, the story shifted again. What once looked like support began to look like coercion. And it didn't stop with Slate. Sources claimed Blake reached out to Colleen Hoover, the author of It Ends With Us, dangling the possibility of creative control over a sequel if she sided against Baldoni. Though Wayfarer Studios had already locked down the rights, the mere suggestion that Blake would offer such leverage shows just how far she was allegedly willing to go to secure loyalty. It wasn't personal, it was strategic. Hoover's sudden alignment with Blake stopped looking like artistic frustration and started looking like a chess move in a bigger battle. The deeper you dig, the clearer the alleged pattern becomes. Blake and Ryan, Hollywood's so-called golden couple, were accused of love-bombing allies, rewarding loyalty, and isolating their targets. Brandon Sklenar, a relatively small-name actor in the project, suddenly signed with WME, one of the biggest talent agencies in Hollywood, right as the lawsuit heated up. Coincidence? Or was this another example of strings being pulled to secure allegiance? The timing alone raised eyebrows. And then there was Channing Tatum. Long desperate to revive his ill-fated Gambit movie, he was allegedly promised that Blake and Ryan could help bring it back, but only if he chose their side. If true, this was manipulation at its most ruthless, taking a man's biggest dream and using it as leverage. This is how Hollywood works at its highest, darkest level. Influence isn't about talent or truth, it's about who controls the narrative. And Blake, alongside Ryan, allegedly wielded that power with precision, ensuring that media outlets painted them as charming, funny, and untouchable. Meanwhile, Baldoni's defense was quietly smothered. Not because he lacked evidence, but because Blake's version of events dominated the headlines. And when the media is on your side, the truth doesn't matter. The perception does. But perception is fickle, and the very thing Blake thought she controlled began to turn against her. Fans started questioning. Why would someone so confident in their case work so hard to silence critics? Why would HR complaints appear only after Blake's lawsuit? Why were career opportunities suddenly falling into the laps of those who aligned with her? The puzzle pieces didn't fit. And once fans start doubting, the house of cards begins to shake. Then came the Hollywood Reporter cover. A simple illustration, Blake firing a slingshot at Baldoni. On its face, harmless satire. But to Blake, it was devastating. That one image summed up the entire scandal. Petty, desperate, manipulative. What months of PR spin had failed to accomplish, one cartoon did in an instant. And Blake's furious reaction only made it worse. She accused the cover of being sexist, biased, an attack on women. But no one bought it. Because this time, the evidence was overwhelming. This wasn't about sexism. It was about exposure. Fans tore into her hypocrisy. The actress who had branded herself as a strong feminist was melting down over a cartoon. And in the age of social media, perception is everything. Her Instagram followers dropped by nearly 1 million. Her husband, Ryan, usually shielded by his reputation as Hollywood's funny nice guy, lost almost 400,000 himself. Proof that Blake's toxicity was now radioactive enough to burn even him. And while their numbers fell, Baldoni's rose. Hundreds of thousands of new followers flocked to him, not because of his acting or directing, but because in this battle, he looked like the only decent human being. The irony here is almost poetic. Colleen Hoover's book, It Ends With Us, is about abuse and manipulation. Yet on the very set of that story, manipulation and coercion allegedly thrived. Not from the man being accused, but from the woman claiming victimhood. Hollywood, of course, is no stranger to scandals. But what makes this different is the sheer speed and brutality of the collapse. Blake Lively's fairy tale image didn't fade. It shattered overnight. Friends went silent. Even Taylor Swift, the queen of defending her inner circle, has stayed quiet. And that silence speaks volumes. If Taylor won't defend you, maybe you're not worth defending. Studios are reportedly scrubbing her from future projects. Producers don't want the headache. In an industry that tolerates a shocking amount of toxicity, Blake's name has become too heavy a liability. Nobody wants a lead actress who hijacks productions, manipulates narratives, and scorches everything around her. And Ryan Reynolds, by proximity, is now tainted as well. For years, his reputation was bulletproof. But Blake's downfall has proven that no amount of charm can protect you from the consequences of association. And perhaps the most damning piece of all, Justin Baldoni's career is thriving. He hasn't just survived the scandal, he's grown from it. While Blake's empire crumbles, his reputation as a kind, genuine, professional man has been reinforced by every person who's worked with him. Even fans who didn't know his name before now see him as the victim of a smear campaign. And in Hollywood, being seen as decent is more valuable than any award. At the end of the day, this saga isn't just about Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni. It's about the way power really works in Hollywood. It's about how narratives are crafted, controlled, and sold to the public. It's about how influence can silence truth until it can't anymore. Blake Lively thought she could control the story. For years, she did. But this time, the cracks showed. The manipulation was too obvious, the PR spin too heavy-handed, the contradictions too glaring. And once the audience saw through it, there was no going back. The Golden Girl image is gone. The fairy tale has ended. And what remains is the story of a woman who allegedly tried to weaponize movements, friendships, and careers to get her way, and lost everything in the process. Blake Lively's downfall isn't just a scandal. It's a cautionary tale. A reminder that in Hollywood, as in life, you can manipulate for a time, but eventually the truth, messy, inconvenient, and undeniable, finds its way out. And when it does, not even the most powerful PR machine in the world can put the pieces back together. Blake Lively built her brand as Hollywood's sweetheart, polished, charming, and untouchable. But the truth behind that carefully constructed image has exploded in front of the entire world, and now, piece by piece, her reputation is collapsing. What began as whispers of control on the set of It Ends With Us has spiraled into a full-blown Hollywood scandal, exposing Blake not as the victim she painted herself to be, but as the mastermind of manipulation, control, and deception. The accusations are damning. Fans who once adored her are now calling her a hypocrite, tearing apart her claims of feminism and empowerment. Media outlets that once shielded her are refusing to back her. Even the Hollywood Reporter cover, intended as a puff piece, only fueled the narrative that Blake isn't a star anymore. She's a dictator, hijacking productions and ruining careers along the way. Crew members are finally speaking up, painting a chilling picture of a set run by fear. Reports allege she demanded last-minute rewrites, overruled the director's choices, and hijacked the film as if she were a bargain bin Spielberg. Except she wasn't the director. She was meant to be an actress and an executive producer, yet she bulldozed her way into total control, strong-arming her clout to seize power that was never hers to claim. Hollywood insiders say it plainly. Actors who behave like tyrants don't survive. Blake leveraged her fame to dominate the production, but in the process, she alienated everyone around her. And worse, when her reputation started to fracture, she doubled down. Instead of owning up, she weaponized PR stunts, feminist rhetoric, and smear campaigns against co-star Justin Baldoni, hoping to crush him before the truth caught up with her. But the receipts don't lie. Baldoni calmly presented unedited text messages, professional communications, and behind-the-scenes evidence that dismantled every one of Blake's claims. Her accusations collapsed in real time, proving she had twisted the narrative, deleted context, and fabricated victimhood to cover her tracks. Fans weren't fooled, Hollywood wasn't fooled, and soon neither were the courts. The comparisons to Amber Heard were inevitable, but the key difference was brutal. Heard once had public support. Blake never did. From the start, audiences saw through her story. And with powerhouse attorney Ryan Reynolds shutting down her every desperate legal stunt, her case began unraveling faster than her career. Even Ryan Reynolds couldn't escape the fallout. His attempt to joke about the scandal on SNL's anniversary special backfired spectacularly, painting him as tone-deaf and careless. For the first time, cracks appeared in his golden boy image, with industry insiders whispering that he may have to distance himself from his wife if he wants to safeguard his career. Because the truth is simple. Hollywood loyalty only lasts as long as you're profitable. And Blake Lively is no longer profitable. Her desperate decision to hire a former CIA operative for damage control only deepened the spectacle. Instead of saving her, it revealed how far she was willing to go to control the narrative. And still, it failed. Every leak, every denial, every smear campaign only dragged her deeper into quicksand. And now the backlash has reached a point of no return. Meme pages roast her daily. YouTubers and Reddit threads dismantle her lies. Audiences are boycotting her film, sinking it before release. And Hollywood? Hollywood has made its choice. No studios will touch her. No directors will work with her. Brands refuse to sponsor her. She's toxic, radioactive, done. Blake Lively set out to bury Justin Baldoni, but in her ruthless pursuit of control, she only buried herself. The curtain has been pulled back, the mask is off, and what's left is a career in ashes. No comeback arc, no PR rescue, no redemption. Hollywood has turned the page. And that is the tragic downfall of Blake Lively, from America's sweetheart to Hollywood's ultimate cautionary tale. Blake Lively may have believed she could rewrite Hollywood history, but the truth has caught up with her. On set, she wasn't contracted to be a director or screenwriter, yet reports say she repeatedly overstepped, rewriting scenes no one asked her to touch. Legal analysts have been dismantling her case piece by piece, exposing contradictions at every turn. In one filing, she accused Justin Baldoni of creating a hostile work environment, yet her own unedited messages show her thanking him for his patience and professionalism. She told the court she felt uncomfortable around him, but texts reveal her joking with him like a close friend. She wanted the judge to believe she was powerless on set, when in reality, everyone knew she had hijacked the production and dictated every creative choice. Lie after lie, contradiction after contradiction, and the lawyers aren't letting a single one slide. Judge Lyman instantly shut down her sweeping subpoenas, refusing to let her weaponize the court system. She wanted to drag others into the mess, to pressure them into propping up her story, but the judge saw straight through the tactics. The law doesn't run on PR spin or Instagram sob stories. What Blake tried to turn into a Hollywood witch hunt collapsed in an instant. The comparisons were inevitable. Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni has started to mirror Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. But there's one crucial difference. Amber, at least in the beginning, had massive public support. Blake never did. From day one, people doubted her story, because they'd already seen the way she hijacked the film and tried to sabotage Baldoni's career. And then came Baldoni's legal powerhouse, Ryan Reynolds. Known as a ruthless operator, Friedman has been 10 steps ahead of Blake at every turn. Every desperate stunt she tried, amending her lawsuit at the last second, vague accusations without evidence, sweeping allegations without proof, he shut down immediately. When she fabricated evidence, he called her out. When she pushed flimsy claims, he demanded receipts she simply didn't have. She thought this would be an easy win. She couldn't have been more wrong. Even Ryan Reynolds wasn't spared from the chaos. At first, he brushed off the scandal, cracking a nervous joke about it during SNL's 50th anniversary show. "Great, why? What have you heard?" he quipped when asked how he was holding up. But that moment backfired spectacularly. Fans called the joke tone-deaf, cringe, even disgusting. The internet shredded him for treating a serious legal scandal like a punchline, and his golden boy image began to crack. Hollywood doesn't forgive being tied to scandals, and insiders are already whispering that Ryan will need to distance himself from Blake if he wants to protect his own career. His entire brand is built on being likable, witty, and family-friendly. If he's seen as the man standing by a manipulative liar, his career takes a hit too. At this rate, he may have no choice but to cut ties, because Blake's allies are vanishing fast. Celebrities who once stood by her are quietly retreating. In Hollywood, loyalty lasts only as long as your career is profitable, and Blake is no longer profitable. She's toxic, radioactive, studios won't hire her. Directors won't work with her. Brands won't touch her. She's become a walking PR nightmare, the kiss of death in Hollywood. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni emerges calm and professional, refusing to get dragged into drama. He lets the truth speak for itself, and the contrast couldn't be clearer. For years, Blake hid behind a polished image, but now that the mask is off, the industry has seen her for what she really is: manipulative, power-hungry, and impossible to work with. Her downfall is complete. No redemption arc. No PR rescue. No comeback story. Blake set out to destroy Justin Baldoni, but in the end, she only destroyed herself.